Hope that woke you up. We are underway and in order for our regular meeting of the Helotes City Council. It is May 14th, 2015, and we are underway at 7 p.m. I'd like to welcome all of you here. It's not often that we get a nice audience to participate, so we appreciate you coming down and watching us do the city's business. We will start off tonight's agenda with our invocation. Tonight, Alex Blue is going to take care of that for us, and then we'll follow that with the pledge to the American and Texas flag. So if you would please stand for the invocation and pledges.
Heavenly Father, as we gather here this evening, we are thankful for your presence as we contemplate the issues that will shape the future of our community. Help us to strike the right balance between short-term and long-term needs of our citizens so that we don't put one before the other. As we ask for guidance for the items that we are working through this evening, we ask that you protect our police, firefighters, and all of our public servants as they work daily to make our community better for all of us. We thank you for the recent rains that we have had. And finally, we ask that you provide guidance to our elected officials at all levels, that they may keep the citizens first in every decision they make. This we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Before we get into the agenda, I have a few remarks that I would like to address to council and you folks. Our last meeting, which was on April 23rd, I introduced or brought two agenda items to our council for their consideration. One of these pertained to suggested amendments to the Economic Development Corporation's Articles of Incorporation, and the other was to their bylaws. The reason I brought these items to council was a result of several months of having conversations, either in person, by email, or over the phone, addressing some concerns and issues that they each four had with some things that were going on within the EDC. Two of those directors actually go back a year having conversations with me, asking for my advice and suggestions on what they should do to address these issues and concerns. I tried to stay at a distance. However, since the middle of February, with all four of them coming at me, I was reluctantly drawn into the business of the EDC. That being said, I merely wanted to introduce some initial thinking as far as some things that I thought might be beneficial to not only the EDC Board of Directors, but to City Council to consider to help address some of the concerns and issues that had been brought to me. My biggest disappointment is that specifically one of our City Council members and several of our EDC Board of Directors members actually took my suggestions quite personally and lashed out, which is their option. It really doesn't matter to me, but it was a disappointment because in my mind they were very logical suggestions, and they were presented to council as a means to start a debate or a discussion to where hopefully we could resolve some of the issues that had been brought to me over a period of a year, and certainly over the period of the last few months. I am pleased to say that, and I anticipated this would probably happen, but council did direct the EDC to take a look at my suggested amendments. And yesterday the EDC had a board meeting. They had a workshop to begin, and then a meeting following that. I had hoped to attend that meeting. However, I had a previous commitment to where I had to attend a suburban city mayors meeting. Those are the mayors of all the suburban cities in Bexar County, to attend to some business that was related to ACOG, the Alamo Area Council of Governments. And we had some elections and some other important matters that I could not miss. So, of course, since I was previously committed to that meeting, I could not attend the EDC meeting because the previous one took up a good part of my afternoon. I did talk to staff, however, for a feel of what the EDC's reaction was. And after, I think, a reluctant start, perhaps, that may not be the right way to put it, but they did seem to begin addressing some of our suggestions, and they have, it looks like, committed to really looking at the Articles of Incorporation and bylaws in a serious fashion, and being able then to bring back some recommendations to our council for their future consideration. So I'm very encouraged that, beside the point of some of them taking offense perhaps to my suggestions, that they are pursuing looking at this, and hopefully will bring back some very good suggestions to council, and maybe we can fix some of the things that appear, from my perspective, to be a little out of kilter with the Economic Development Corporation. That being said, our agenda tonight, items 14, 15, and 16, address some EDC matters. And so, in good faith, looking forward to what the Board of Directors of the EDC will do and bring back to council, I feel that it is not out of line for me to pull item 14, our closed session, and subsequently pull items 15 and 16, which were proposed action items as a result of the closed session, because I feel like it's a very positive step that council is looking at this eventually, and that the Board of Directors of the Economic Development Corporation is at least entertaining some of the suggestions that I brought to them, and that we can hopefully wind up with very positive results, and I will no longer be contacted on the regular basis that I have been over the past year, and they can get on with their business as an Economic Development Corporation, and I can continue with my business of doing the task of taking care of the city of Helotes, which is something that I enjoy doing very much. So that being said, again, before we get into the agenda, for those of you who are interested in the last items and came just for that, we are pulling item 14, 15, and 16 from our agenda. Okay, next up we have proclamation. And this is proclamation recognizing our Public Works Department. So we have two of them here, so come on up front and we'll get you proclaimed. This is Josh Mayer, who's our supervisor of public works. He was actually our first public works employee that we hired about 4 years ago. And we have since increased the size of our public works department. The guys that we have on board take care of a lot of our smaller projects. They've actually tackled some pretty big projects. And with the equipment we purchased, and these guys at the hands of the equipment, we actually can pretty well pinpoint that we save between $50,000 and $100,000 a year of work that we would subcontract out, and sometimes even greater than $100,000. So it's well worth us having our own public works department. This is Justin Vincent, and he is our newest employee just this year. So we're glad to have him on board. And he catches all the work the other two do. Yes, sir. Anyway, I'm going to read this. It says, Office of the Mayor, Helotes, Texas, Proclamation, National Public Works Week, Community begins here. Whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas instituted in 1960 as a public education campaign, National Public Works Week calls attention to the importance of public works in community life
and highlights the unsung heroes of our society, the professionals who serve the public good every day with quiet dedication. I will say it's not necessarily always quiet, but they are very dedicated to our city, and we're proud of them. Whereas the support of an understanding and informed public is vital to the efficient operation of providing essential services by the public works systems and programs, including streets and rights-of-way, public buildings, animal control, drainage maintenance, stormwater management, and various city projects. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel, Public Works Supervisor Josh Mayer, Animal Control Officer Dustin Blosky, and Public Works Assistant Justin Vincent reflect the highest standards of professionalism while striving to improve the quality of life of our community. Now therefore I, Thomas A. Schoolcraft, on behalf of the members of the City Council, and by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Helotes, Texas, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through 23rd, 2015 as Public Works Week. Community begins here. And recognize and commend our Public Works employees for their service to our community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused this seal to be affixed. So guys, congratulations. Appreciate it. Got it? Thanks. Be sure to frame that. Next up on our agenda is a public hearing. We're going to open this public hearing at 7:12, actually 7:13. And this public hearing is to give all interested persons the right to appear and be heard on proposed capital improvement projects and the funding thereof for the construction of water and sewer lines along Bandera Road from generally Circle A Trail to Scenic Loop Road, the realignment of FM 1560 near generally its intersection with Bandera Road and Circle A Trail, the construction of a bridge on FM 1560, and the installation of walking trails and related equipment within Helotes Creek Linear Park. And tonight, we have Stephen Graham, who signed up to speak. So Stephen, welcome. If you would, please state your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes for your comments, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name's Stephen Graham. I live at 10615 Bar X Trail. I'm a member of Helotes Hill United Methodist Church. As you guys are already aware, we've been dealing with you guys about the water and sewage. We have an issue on our hands. We're getting our water from a water line off of Bar X Trail, and the person that owns the property there is fixing to sell her house. And so we may not have water off of Bar X Trail. So I hope that you all will consider us and consider the water and sewer lines and work with us on that. Thank you.
We're trying, and we appreciate you know, your dilemma.
Thank you.
Any council members have any comments to that? Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Okay, now we're up. Next, we are going to have an oath of office for Bert Bives. Raise your right hand.
This is serious. And this is Bert's third term that he's getting ready to start. Repeat after me. In the name and by the authority
In the name and by the authority
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
I, and state your name,
I, Bert Bice,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office
of City Council, Place 3
of City Council Place 3
of the City of Helotes
of the City of Helotes
and of the state of Texas,
and of the state of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Wait a minute, let me get this. Yeah, you can applaud. Okay, next up, we have our open session, our citizens to be heard. And this gives our citizens a chance to come up and speak on any topic. Generally, they speak on agenda items, but they are able to speak on any other items. The council cannot enter into a discussion on any of these. We're just here to basically listen to the citizens. And if there's something that we feel needs to be brought forward on a future agenda, we'll certainly do that. So first up, we have Drew Helms. Drew? And again, if you would, please state your name, your address, and as always, you have 3 minutes.
Yes.
And we appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon, city council members. Thank you, sir, for your actions. We understand, and hopefully things will work out much better. I do have some additional information that I wanted to put out for y'all to consider, and that would be to leave the existing board in place until the final fiscal year is over, at least. Let us finish what we started. Let us finish and start the next budget year, because we're used to it and we've done it and we know what we're doing, we hope, and we have some help and would like to continue with that. I'd like to make that recommendation. And the last thing is, when a final vote is made on the EDC Articles of Incorporation and bylaws, when y'all make that, consider making the date for implementation the first day of the fiscal year. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. Next up, Caleb Rackley. Again, Caleb, if you would, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Council. Mr. Mayor, my name is Caleb Rackley, 11503 Viridian Place here in Helotes. And as you know, I have the privilege of serving on the Helotes EDC. And I'll be very brief here. At the outset, I'd just like to say that with respect to the items 14 through 16, that I certainly understand that there are varying opinions on these matters. And I have no doubt that everyone involved in this, whether it's the mayor or Councilwoman Massey or Councilman Bies or others, that they all have the best interests of the city at heart, and I certainly appreciate that. And I think that's the beauty of our system, that it's okay to have disagreement, sometimes spirited disagreement. But as long as we've all got the city's best interests at heart, then we can shake hands at the end of the day and move on and continue working in our own ways to improve our community. And I think that's what's happening here. As you mentioned, Mayor, just yesterday the EDC board came together, and based on some, I think, very valuable input from the city administrator, approved the broad outlines of a restructuring plan that I believe will resolve the concerns that have been expressed regarding the way the EDC operates. And by all indications, this plan will have unanimous support from the EDC board. And frankly, while I don't agree with all of the changes that the mayor suggested to the EDC's bylaws and articles of incorporation, I have to acknowledge that if the city council ultimately approves the plan that is underway right now, that while those changes will in some ways be somewhat different from what the mayor proposed, that they will nevertheless be positive reforms made as a result of the mayor spurring debate on these issues. I do want to make one thing clear with respect to Ms. Garner. I know some on council may not agree with everything she does, and I don't agree with everything that she's done in terms of just differing opinions on various issues. But I would say that there's no question that she has the city's best interests at heart, and that she has worked incredibly hard for many, many years to serve this city and to serve the EDC, and that she is a talented and valuable part of the EDC board. And despite her busy travel schedule and commitments outside of the EDC, she dedicates extraordinary time and devotion to the EDC and fulfills all of her responsibilities and more as a director. I appreciate your time this evening and look forward to continuing to work on behalf of the city and the council and the EDC for the good of Helotes. Thanks.
Thank you, Caleb. That concludes citizens to be heard portion. We will move on to the consent agenda. In our meetings and most meetings like ours, a consent agenda is presented to the governing body with the intent of approving multiple items at one time, mainly for efficiency's sake. Tonight, our consent agenda includes items 6 through 8. The intent is that these items are considered fairly routine by me and staff, and so we bring this as a group. However, council, if they so choose and they have a brief question on any of the items, we can address that question as long as it can be answered in a fairly brief fashion. If they choose to have further discussion or a more elaborate discussion on a particular item, they can request that that item be pulled from the consent agenda, and it will be pulled down into the items for individual consideration. So this time, I would ask council if there are any questions or a request to pull any of the items 6 through 8. Okay, being no discussion required, no questions, then I would look for a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 6 through 8.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve consent agenda items 6 through 8.
We have a motion from Buys. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Villanueva. So with a motion from Buys and a second from Villanueva to approve consent agenda items 6 through 8, we'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Consent agenda items 6 through 8 are hereby approved. That moves us to item number 9. And tonight we're having a presentation by firm representatives and a discussion of and hopefully action on the selection of one firm to provide us with the employee benefits consulting services. And so first up tonight, we have of the two companies that responded to our RFQ, Wortham Insurance, Risk Management and Benefit. So please come up to the podium. Rick, would you pull that podium back just a little? You got it?
I got it.
There you go. Thank you. If you would, please state your name and then go ahead with your presentation.
Yes, Mayor, Council, and guests, my name is Jenny Haff, and I'm with Wortham Insurance and Risk Management. And we are a statewide firm, privately held. I'm a partner in the firm. I've been there for 20 years on the broker and consulting side, and have been here locally for 20 years. We have offices in San Antonio, Austin, Fort Worth, and Houston's really our hub. We operate, though, independently here in San Antonio with about 120 employees here locally, and we offer benefits and property and casualty insurance. I've consulted and advised many types of different industries. I personally also consult on 4 local cities around the San Antonio area. Today I wanted to remind you, you all have our information in front of you, but I wanted to maybe remind you of a few things that are important when you select your broker. So if you'll give me a few minutes to discuss those, highlight those things, then you all can ask me any questions. But a few things that I think are important are great service and responsiveness. If you call your agent, I think she should respond timely. And good service. So service is really important in these day and age when we all have issues and concerns and problems with our insurance, whether it be administratively or within the employees, within the rank and file. Everybody has problems with it. It's just somewhat the nature of the beast these days. It doesn't matter which carrier you're with. And so if there's a customer service team that can help you quickly and resolve those for the city and your employees. Second thing are creative ideas. You know, a broker should have the employees and the city's best interest at heart. When we're coming up with plan design, employer contribution, there's things like HRAs, high deductible health plans, so many different HSAs, all these different types of acronyms these days. But creative ideas are very important these days because of the pricing of it. It's just getting expensive. And so I think a good broker comes up with those creative ideas. Another thing that's important are good relationships with the carriers. You know, we all have partnerships with our clients that are important, but we also have, brokers also have relationships with the carriers, because we're the ones who have to get them to give us, for you all, great deals on our negotiate renewals. You have to get great deals on the premiums if we can. And those negotiations don't come easily. It comes with a good reputation within the community, within those carrier partners, which would bleed down to any of our client relationships as well. That also helps to get problems solved, so when your employees do come to us, we certainly can manage those problems quickly. Of course, compliance these days. It used to be that we used to sell insurance, and now we don't just sell insurance. We are basically compliance officers for you all. And we have to do that because that, again, since 2010 with healthcare reform, that's where it's led us to keeping you all or keeping any of our clients in compliance with all the requirements that are necessary these days. And so there's a lot of things that are changing, a lot of things that have changed, and that's a big part of a broker's responsibility. And finally, last but not least, I think trust, honesty, and integrity is probably the most important thing. Now, you may be surprised what I'm about to say to you, because as a businesswoman, this is the first time in 20 years that I've ever done this. But I'm not here necessarily to earn your business tonight. I'm here for an introduction. I'm here for an introduction because, you see, relationships are important to me. And the woman who's your agent currently has been a friend and friendly competitor for 20 years. And I don't think I wasted my time in being here because I want to introduce myself. Because someday Shirley Crandall is going to retire. I think she has 10 years on me. But someday she's going to retire. And when she does, then I want you all to call me. But until then, the things that I just mentioned to you are all the things that I think Shirley's probably bringing to you. And certainly someday I'll do the same. But as far as I'm concerned, you're getting excellent. You have an excellent broker in Shirley Crandall. And really for 20 years, I've been wanting to say that about her publicly. And so I appreciate the opportunity. And again, please don't look at this as a waste of your time or mine. Though, had I known she was the agent of record, I probably wouldn't have spent all the time putting that proposal together for you all. I'm just kidding. But when I found out, I still wanted to come tonight I still wanted to come tonight because I wanted her to know how much I respect her as a friend and also a professional in my same industry. And there's a handful of those people I could say that about in our community, and she's one of them. So thank you for your time tonight.
That's certainly a refreshing approach. We appreciate you being here. Just a second, I want to see if any of the council
Oh, I'm
members
sorry. Do you all have
might
any
have any questions.
Yes, I hope you would. Do you have any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Alex, Bert, Cindy?
No.
Okay, well, thanks a bunch. We appreciate you.
Thank
coming.
y'all. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Crandall and Associates. So who's going to be up? Barbie, you or?
I'll let the boss take over.
Okay. I think you've already had an introduction, but come on up and even though we know who you are, please state your name and who you're with and who you represent.
Mayor, Council, I'm Shirley Crandall. I'm the owner of Crandall and Associates Insurance Agency, and we've been in business for 28 years. We have handled the employee benefits for the city of Helotes since, I believe, 1994 or 95. We definitely appreciate your business and hope you feel that we've done a good job. When Barbie approached me and said that they were going out for bid, I said, uh-oh, what's going on? She said, no, I think they just feel they need to do their due diligence, which I hope is the case. I told Barbie jokingly, because in this business it's very stressful, and I told her jokingly, did you remind them they left us for 2 years and called us, please come and help us, we need your help, please come back? She goes, no, I didn't tell them that. I said, okay. But I won't take a lot of your time. Y'all have other things to discuss. Like I said, we certainly appreciate your business and we don't take it for granted. We hope that what Jenny mentioned is what you see from us. I am very strict on the employees to call the same day, to respond to them. If you don't have a response, call them back and tell them, hey, I don't have a response yet, but I'm working on it. Because sometimes we're at the insurance company's mercy. You know, it's ditto what she said. It's good service. It's keeping on top of the laws, which is not easy these days. It's negotiating rates with the carriers. I feel that we have all of that, or that, you know, we wouldn't have been in business this long. We insure several cities in San Antonio. So should I mention those, Jenny, so that you don't? Yeah, we have the city of Alamos Park. We have the city of Selma. We have Balcones Heights, city of Helotes. So we have experience. And is there anything else I forgot to mention? Barbie kind of handles your account. It's hard to wear every hat, as you can imagine. We do commercial insurance also. We do employee benefits, just as Wortham, we do employee benefits and commercial insurance. And I tend to hang a lot in the commercial side. It's not as legislative heavy, and I kind of like that. But I'll answer any questions that y'all may have.
Okay, Shirley, we appreciate it. And you should have an email from Judy Hinkle.
Yes.
With her thoughts on this. So with that, do we have any questions from any of the council members?
I have a question. I think was it last year or the year before we went up, the cost of our insurance was gonna go up 40%, something like that, or almost 45, 54%. Do you see that happening again this year?
Sure.
I'm
come on
sorry,
up, Barbie.
it's just something I'd like to put in the memory banks here.
Some of that, as I recall, had to do with some of the claims that had been submitted.
The last 2 years, your last two renewals have been very tough renewals.
Right.
And it's all been related to your claims experience. For a good long time, we've been clicking along, running excellent loss ratios. From an insurance carrier's perspective, they like to see the claims paid out equal 80% or less than the premiums brought in, because they've got to have a margin to pay the years have been challenging. And one thing that I'm going to say, you know, we moved to Humana, we had a really bad year, and we got the renewal, it was 53%, and I went out to bed, and I had other carriers decline to quote because it was too bad. They didn't want any of it either, so I really didn't have any ammunition, if you will, to go back to Humana and fight for a rate reduction. So I brought this lady in, and she's kind of a badger. So every year, Shirley makes the trek to Green Bay, Wisconsin to meet with the higher ups of the Humana Corporation. And every year, Jerry Ganoni, the president of Humana, says, "Here's my phone number. If you ever need anything, call me." And so on that occasion, Shirley picked up the phone and she called the president of Humana and she said, "Look, this group is doing everything right. We've got them, you know, we've got them engaged. We're doing Humana Vitality. We're encouraging wellness. We're doing all the right things. Help us out." And so, as a result, Mr. Ganoni instructed his underwriting department to give us a little help. But we still had a 40% rate increase, but at least it wasn't 54. So we had another challenging year last year. We made some pretty significant changes. I went through several meetings, I think, with Rick and the mayor to come someplace where we could, you know, have a good budget, do something that the city could afford, and still offer the employees the benefits that they were used to seeing. At least at this point, they could have the same benefit. They may have to pay a little out of pocket for it, which was something they hadn't done in the past. But we always try to be creative, looking at those things, looking at ways to save money. I hope that it's a benefit to see the same face coming out here year after year. In this industry, there can be turnover, so I'm really happy to say there's been no turnover in the employee benefits department at Crandall Associates in the last 5 years, almost 6 years. In September will be the last time we had a position turn. So I've been with Crandall for a little over 7 years. I've been the account manager for the city of Helotes the entire time. And I feel like I have a great relationship not only with your human resource staff, with Tabby and payroll, with Rick, with your employees. They recognize me. I live close to here, so even if I run into them on the street, they go, "Hey, you're our insurance lady." So I hope they trust me, and that's what I try to get done with them.
It's hard to say.
It's hard.
Yeah, we don't know.
That's what I'm getting,
Yeah.
okay.
We're going to be coming up in a tough situation, and just to give you a little information, right now, the healthcare reform law, when it passed, it defined a small group as 1 to 100. And in Texas, we got that pushed off a couple of years, and we continued our definition of small group in Texas is 2 to 50, which means that you guys didn't get pushed into what we refer to as adjusted community rating at the beginning of 2014, like our 50 and under groups did. So we're still kind of in an underwriting situation with you guys. In 2016, barring any changes in the law, the definition of small group in Texas will change to 1 to 100, which means that unless you guys have a huge growth spurt and we hire about 30, 40 employees between now and then, we're going to be looking at adjusted community rating with the city of Helotes. And you know, kind of depending upon what the demographics look like and what your claims look like at that situation, it might be a help, but it might not be. I will say that we're in a good position with the changes that we made last year. We moved the insurance, your medical insurance, to United Healthcare. They have kind of a unique approach. Rather than purchasing a single plan, you're kind of purchase a package of plans, and it has some ability to move within that package. So that being said, there's some transitional relief that can keep us out of community rating if it's not to your advantage to be there. And we can continue that until 2017, at which point, by October of 2017, we should have, I'm pretty, like 100% sure we're gonna have a new president. We're gonna have some new people in Congress, and maybe from January of 2017 to October of 2017, if they feel inclined, they may do something to help us in that arena. If not, we'll face a community rating with you guys, and do the best that we can to help you work through that.
will say that, Barbie, it is always a pleasure working with you. And you do bring some good ideas to us. Sometimes I feel bad that we have you cranking out so many numbers over such a short period of time,
That's my job.
but that's just the way it works. But we were able to, in my mind, improve the coverage for the employees, especially in the area of pediatric care, because we had some, we were able to provide a plan where there was no charge for that.
No co-pays for kids.
No copay for kids. And so that was well received by the employees. So we appreciate those efforts.
We've come a long way. We've been from a single plan, medical plan offering to a 4-plan option now with your employees. So
Right.
I'm not sure Judy's happy with me about that, but
That's okay. Let me see if the council has any questions. Ed? Any? Alex? Any more? Cynthia? Okay, thanks so much. Okay, hearing both of those presentations, I would be looking for a motion that would include the approval of one of these two firms to either come in and transition to be our new firm, or for Crandall and Associates to continue serving the city of Helotes in good stead. So that being said, I would look again for a motion or a second to approve one or the other companies.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we continue to have Crandall and Associates Insurance as our employee benefits consulting and brokerage service.
That's a motion from Buys. Do we have a second?
I concur and second the motion.
Second from Villanueva. Okay, so we have a motion and a second by Buys and Villanueva to continue using Crandall and Associates Insurance as our employee benefits consultant and brokerage service. Any discussion?
I would like to say something.
Okay.
I just would like to, if we do need to change, I would just like to say I did some research on Wortham, and they are a fine company. According to Better Business Bureau, you have an A+ rating, and I didn't see any complaints either. So if we were to have to change, I think you would be at the top of the list. Okay. All right. That's all I had.
So that's what, 10, 12 years down the road, depending on Shirley? Oh. Uh-oh. Okay, so again, we have a motion and a second from Buys and Villanueva to approve Crandall and Associates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Congratulations, guys, and we look forward to getting started again here in a few months. I'm just kidding. We really never look forward to it, but we know it's just one of those things. You bet. Okay, next up we have a Public Works presentation from Josh Mayer, and this is an action item that we're going to be looking for action to approve our Helotes Stormwater Management Program Best Management Practices Report.
Thank you, Mayor Schoolcraft. Thank you, Council, for being here tonight. We are presenting the MS4 Phase 2 General Permit year 2014 to 2019. We're here to discuss and take action on the Stormwater Management Plan Best Management Practice Report. This report is based upon the approved Stormwater Management Plan that was submitted by the city with the help of L&V Engineering to TCEQ in June of 2014. A quick overview of the report is the city is required to develop a stormwater management plan that describes specific actions that will be taken over a 5-year period in an effort to reduce pollutants and protect the city's stormwater quality. The stormwater management plan sets forth measurable goals and provides a schedule for the implementation of the best management practices over a 5-year period. This report is specifically for the first year reporting period for that program. There's various best management practices that have been developed for each of the 5 required minimum control measures that we'll list in a second. These minimal control measures are expected to minimize or eliminate stormwater pollutions and discharge from the storm sewer system and provide water quality protection for the receiving bodies. Since the city is categorized as a level 1 MS4 at this time, we only are required to meet 5 minimum control measures. The minimum control measures are listed as public education, outreach and involvement, illicit discharge detection and elimination, construction site stormwater runoff control, post-construction management, and pollution and prevention and good housekeeping. If you could refer to the stormwater management plan that was included in y'all's agenda, we will go over that rather quickly. This is the report that was submitted to TCEQ on May 6th when we were audited by them, which we did pass the audit, and we're currently waiting on the letter of compliance from them. On this report,
are you going to mention that you didn't have any deficiencies?
I would mention that if I had the letter in writing in my hand, but since I do not, I choose not to.
Especially
sorry. I'm new at this, but not that new. So pages 2 through 6 list the stormwater management plan, the basic report. On these pages, you get basically the best management practice that we are doing. We get a responsible department. We get an applicable control measure. I'm just going across the top there. Then we have the measurable goal that we need to reach, what documented activities go along with that measurable goal, and whether or not it's completed. The reason we are here tonight, if you look on page 3 of Best Management Practice ID 1-6, it requires the education of elected officials and the public. And so we are here tonight to satisfy the minimum control measure of public education, outreach, and involvement, and basically just provide a quick overview of requirements of our TCEQ permit and give council and the mayor an update. The update is that we've passed the first audit, and the first fiscal year of recordable minimum control measures have been met. The only ones that have not been marked as completed are minimum control measures that did not require any action per the approved plan that we submitted. So that's pretty much the presentation that I have there. If you have any questions on any of the best management practices listed or the recordable minimum control measures that we did to satisfy that, I can take those now.
So basically, a result of this recent audit, even though you don't want to brag that we had no deficiencies, is it is well documented that in Helotes, all water basically runs downhill?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. That is rule number 1.
Rule number 1, as set forth by Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. Great presentation. Ed, you have any questions? Alex?
No, I just say great job.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Bert?
How do you do all this with just 3 people, or 2.5?
Rick taught me how.
Oh, okay, just wondering.
Cynthia?
Nothing, thank you very much for your work.
None? Okay, since after the presentation, thanks, Josh.
Thank you, sir.
This is an action item and discussion. We do need a motion to approve the Helotes Stormwater Management Program Best Management Practices Report as presented. So I would look for a motion to take that action to approve, and then a second.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we discuss and take action on item number 10 as written.
We have a motion from Massey. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
A second from Blue. We already had a opportunity for discussion. I'll ask one more time. Any questions? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to the question. All in favor of approving the Stormwater Management Program Best Management Practices Report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries, and the report is hereby approved. Next up, we have a discussion and action item for a petition requesting annexation for a couple of small pieces of property, ingress, egress easements basically, coming off of Whippoorwill and going to a piece of property that's already in the city. So, that being said, I would look for a motion and a second to discuss and take action on this item.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we discuss and take action on item number 11 as written.
We have a motion from Villanueva. Do we have a second?
I'll second the item.
A second from Blue. And, Rick, did you want to cover anything? Okay, everything was in your, packet. We did add a brief summary of exactly what this, entails and why it's being requested. So we'll, start off with, questions. Ed, it's your motion. Do you have any questions?
A little bit, let's see. Just wanted to clarify on this, Bearcat property map. Is that what we're talking about, annexing? Is that these right-of-ways shown on these other maps? I mean, we've got 3 here total. So these, for example, are these the borders? On borders?
Yeah, that's,
This
the
one,
big
this
pieces
one.
in the city,
No.
the 2 small legs, if you will, that's what's being asked. It's a .27
Yeah.
acre and a .81 acre tract, and that's just to give them access. It's currently in our ETJ, which is in Bear County, and as stated in the, request, it's just an opportunity for them to have those brought into the city so that they don't have to mess with 2 entities, Bear County and the city of Pelotas, as far as plating goes.
Just cleaning up the right-of-ways, basically, to give
Pretty
them.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all. I just wasn't clear. I just wanted to make certain. So we got so many different maps.
Alex, you're second. You're up.
No, Mr. Mayor, I thank you. I think everything was pretty clear. The only question I would have is, I guess it has to technically be zoned, so it's gonna have to go through planning and zoning and all that stuff. But that'll just have that process will take its course.
Yeah,
I think it's clear.
We're working to minimize the expense to the city to take
Yeah.
these in. That was my first thought too, because it's essentially not gonna bring us any real revenue as far as property goes. However, it is a legitimate request by this particular citizen, and therefore that's why it was brought to you guys. Anything else?
That's all.
Wirt?
I don't have any problems with it.
Cynthia?
No problems.
Okay. Being no further discussion, we will call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. The annexation is approved. Okay, next up, we have item number 12, discussion and action on amendments to the city council policies and procedures. This is something that we have discussed before, and council made some suggested changes. We went back and staff took care of those additional suggestions. I had some more suggestions that I brought to staff and are included in here. So the purpose tonight is hopefully we've accomplished all of our recommended amendments to the policies and procedures, and the council can take action. So I will ask if there is a motion and a second to proceed with this and eventually approve the amended policies and procedures.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we discuss and take action on, item number 12 as written.
We have a motion from Massey. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second from Bies. Cynthia, it's your motion, so you're up first on discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I've looked at this before, but I've looked at it since with different eyes, and I think that and I just want to, before I talk a little bit about what my thinking is, I want to make sure that you understand and that the council understands that the suggestions that I'm going to be making has nothing to do with the mayor's position. I have a great deal of respect for our mayor. I've disagreed with him vehemently sometimes, but I do have a great deal of respect for him, and what he did tonight before shows the reason that I do respect him, because I know that he's fair, and he pulling those items, I'm just very pleased that he did that, understanding what we did yesterday. But that aside, looking at these policy and procedures, I feel like the city council is going to be giving up a lot of its authority to the mayor under these new policies and procedures, and we need to proceed with caution. These policies and procedures are going to stand for a while, and not only for this council, but for future councils and future mayors. And not all mayors are going to be like this mayor. We have to think about that. A mayor is not without bias and or political concerns that could influence his or her decisions. There is a proverb, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed, or put another way, there is wisdom in a variety of counselors. And I'd like to go through just some of the things that I believe need to be pretty much kept instead of taken away. The first is on page 1, final authority on hiring and firing of all city employees. It was stricken from the policies and procedures, and I believe that the city council should be able to weigh in on final appeals. And I have added what I think will work in the employee policies and procedures. Now, I've written some things out, if you wouldn't mind passing them, so you can see them. Because I know that we've already approved the employee policies and procedures, and so this is going to affect that. This is on chapter 20, complaints and appeals, the grievance process, step G. It says at the very end of step G, if you look at the very last page, it says this is the 14 calendar days, this is the final appeal for someone. And it says the determination of the mayor is final. My suggested revision to that would be to say, however, the city council has the right to re-examine the findings in the case at the written request of 2 council members who may sustain, modify, or reverse the action of the mayor. The request to re-examine must occur within 5 business days of the mayor's determination and be reviewed by council at the first scheduled council meeting after that date. I really believe this is important. We cannot write ourselves out. I mean, I was thinking of a lot of different ways. This is not just for someone who might be terminated and feel like they're terminated wrongly. This could be for someone who is kept on for some reason that we might decide, maybe the city administrator comes and says, you know what, the mayor, and again, I'm not talking about this mayor, I'm talking about a future mayor, might say, you know what, I really don't want this person, but the mayor wants this person, but this person is really, whatever. So he could tell one council member, that council member could tell another council member, and they could look at whatever the files say and decide whether or not they want to do it or not. I just think that it's important to have that kind of appeal, and I think the council should be the ones to appeal that. And it's actually not even an appeal from the employee, it's really more of the council would just be able to understand that we could possibly do this. Anyway, that is my suggestion for that one. On page 16, let me see, I'm sorry. Oh, page 10, on the red line copy. This is about the, let me go to these pages so that we can all look at them. Where is this on? 15, 14? What number are we on?
What item number?
Yeah, the item number.
12.
Oh, okay. There's so many papers on my thing here, I can barely see. The red line copy on number 10, page 10. I should have had this open. Oh, no council member shall speak more than on one particular, okay, this is the one about that we only get 5 minutes to speak. And I don't have a problem with that. The stipulation seems restrictive. This is the only time the city council gets to discuss things together, and it may be necessary to speak longer than 5 minutes twice. So I think that the wording should be added to give leeway to the presiding chair to extend discussion times, and I would like to see these words added. However, the presiding chair may extend time and discussion allotments at the request of a majority of the council members present. I just think that sometimes there's things that may come up that we would like to talk a little bit more, and I just would like to see that added. Page 16, paragraph 3. This is the one where it says the mayor will review the agenda to determine the validity of each item and approve through his or her execution the agenda for posting. This one is real problematic to me. I believe it's very arbitrary. What criteria is the mayor going to use? As I mentioned, a mayor is not immune to ideological and political bias and could very well deny an otherwise well thought out agenda item presented by a council member. Therefore, I would eliminate the first line in its entirety, and my suggestion would be to include the following. The city administrator will be responsible for administering the agenda process with consultation from the mayor. If agenda items are submitted according to correct procedures and include pertinent and adequate information as required in the agenda item request form, which is mentioned in paragraph 5 of this section, the item must be included on the agenda for council consideration. This prevents a future mayor from, who may not like something that two council people want to put on, and this has happened before. It'll prevent that from happening. We really need to watch that. Page 16 again, on the paragraph down, council members to include the mayor shall be responsible for their own work products, but may request pertinent documents from the city secretary or city administrator. Obviously, I don't want them to do our work. If we have a policy wants to put something out, that's fine. But sometimes I've requested things like, I need the budget from last year, or I need tax figures from last year, and that I think is something that we should be able to put. It sounds very, I guess these rules and regulations sounds very draconian against the city council, as if we're some nuisance that are here. And I don't believe that we're a nuisance. We're here to represent the citizens, and all of us are elected at large. So I just wanted to say that. The other, on page 8.
Can you tell me, can you go over what section you're talking about there again?
Still on that same, towards the bottom. Let's see, on page 16.
Page 16, paragraph 4 is what she said.
Paragraph 4.
What does this sentence start with?
Each agenda item, let me see. No, wait a minute. No. Council members to include. I'll give you this when I'm finished. On page 18, city council, city staff relationships. Paragraph 2. No council member shall direct the city administrator to initiate any action or prepare any report that is significant in nature, or initiate any products or study without the consent. And then a majority of the council was marked out, and it was just put the mayor, and I would like to delete mayor instead, a majority of the council. Again, the reason for that is because what if the action of the city council is that they want to do something for the mayor? And again, this is not personal. This is not about this particular mayor. And the reason that I'm bringing this up, and you could probably say, well, another city council can come and change all this. Once you give away power, you're never going to get it back. It's almost impossible to get your authority back. I just wanted to make that comment. On page 18, the third paragraph. This one really threw me for a loop. City council members shall not make attempts to influence staff decisions, recommendations, workloads, schedules, department policies without prior knowledge and approval of the council as a whole. And it strikes mayor, and it says mayor, okay. Anyway, I don't even understand why this is in there. I don't think that it is our business, whether we have the permission of the mayor or anybody, to go and try to influence the staff on making decisions. I mean, we're the policy makers. I don't understand why that's even in there. But if it's gonna stay in there, then we need to strike mayor and return to council as a whole, in my opinion. Page 18, the city administrators, chief of police and fire chief will be evaluated by the mayor on an annual basis in September. And it added, the first time it said the evaluation is subject to the review and approval of city council. That was stricken. I'd like it to stay in there. Page 21 and 22, city litigation and legal service. This is the news media inquiries. Towards the end, all news media inquiries concerning the administration of city council, adopted policies, programs, and our services shall be referred to the mayor or the city administrator, and city litigation and legal services shall be referred to the city attorney. That's my suggested change. On page 30, council liaison members, I think we should stat with council approval. And on page 31, communications, each board, commission, and advisory committee is required to submit to the city council a monthly report, and then I put in parentheses, except for the Economic Development Corporation, which shall submit a quarterly report, which was one of the things that we put in our bylaws. So those are the things that I think need to be addressed or discussed, and those are my suggested changes. Again, I'm saying this, and this is not against this mayor. This is about future councils. I do not want to be on a city council that gives away this much authority to the mayoral position. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I second it.
You seconded it,
Yeah.
so you're up next.
This is a lot to digest, and unless I get some more time to go over it again, I can't make a comment on Councilmember Massey's changes. I will say this, that after the few meetings that we've had going over our policies and procedures, I was happy with the new ones that we've amended and that we've worked on for so long. But if we want to consider these, I'm going to need more time.
Alex?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I have to agree with Councilman Baez on the fact that I want to be able to consider these. I think that the comments were well framed and may warrant further review before just making a quick all up or down, and I would appreciate more time to review the details of them as well.
Ed?
Yeah, I concur. I think we do need some more time, and hope that we can have an opportunity to incorporate some of these recommended changes by Councilwoman Massey. I think they do make sense, and I know we keep revising the policy and procedures, but there again, other ideas pop up, and we have to at least consider them. And I'd like an opportunity to bring these back at a later date.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have some of this earlier on, but we're in no hurry, that's for sure. I will say that some of the items are pretty well covered under Robert's Rules of Order and come out of Robert's Rules of Order, especially the speaking times and those kinds of things. And it's also handled on how those speaking times can be changed by council. The purpose of 2 5-minute time allotments for each council member is so that a council member can't take up all the time. If they continue going and going and going on a particular item, it discourages the other council members from pitching in with some discussion. So the intent of Robert's Rules of Order is to have 2 5-minute discussions by each council person. If further debate is desired by council, it merely takes a motion and a second to extend those times. And the presiding officer really has the responsibility of going ahead and allowing that to happen if they're a fair facilitator and presiding officer. A lot of the things about the mayor are actually already in our policies and procedures as far as I can tell, and I too would like to go over these. I will say that if council desires to take some of these into consideration, it's certainly your prerogative, that you need to closely consider time element, because some things can't wait for a council meeting. And we don't want to be put in a position where we're calling a bunch of special meetings to take care of employee items and other items that can't really wait for the next regularly scheduled council meeting. So I would say, in reviewing these suggestions, not saying they're good or bad, I am saying that some of these are already covered under the Texas Local Government Code. They're very clear in the code, and they're also very clear in Robert's Rules of Order. So again, I would recommend, since you all want to look at this, that we have either the motion maker amend the motion to postpone this item for a time certain. Hopefully by the next meeting, you guys will have time to go over this. So what's the date of that meeting? The 28th?
28th, yes.
Yeah, so hopefully the motion maker would amend her motion to postpone this item until the meeting of the 28th, where council then can go ahead and take another look at it.
Before you do that, may I be recognized?
Sure.
There's one major concern with what Councilwoman Massey has brought up, and that is, and this is perhaps selfish of me as city administrator, but item number 6 on page 16, determining the validity of an item on the agenda. No staff member, just keep this for consideration, no staff member is going to want to be in between the mayor and city council on that item. So while I'm not saying it's not a valid concern, I would suggest y'all determining another mechanism rather than inputting staff into that situation.
And I would like to point out that if you'll look in your handbook for newly elected officials, you will see in there that the agenda is the responsibility of the mayor. The mayor determines what's on the agenda, and his responsibility or her responsibility is to honor the requests of council members when they want to have something on an agenda to go ahead and put it on there. But it is stated in the handbook that it is the mayor's responsibility. I would like to point out also that we can't go contrary to the Texas Local Government Code, and it's good to follow Robert's rules, since our policies state that we follow Robert's rules. So be very careful in what you're going to be considering. I would like to point out too that the reason we added in there for council members to go through the city administrator, hopefully, before contacting the attorneys, is we pay our attorneys generally $180 to $200 an hour, which is $3 plus a minute. And if council members just arbitrarily can call the attorneys and start the clock on just basic questions that could be answered by our staff, the only purpose of this in the policies and procedures is for the council to come to staff first and make sure the staff can't provide the answers to their questions, and let staff have the prerogative going forward. And so these are the things that I would say when you're deliberating and looking at these things, to be sure and consider in your thought processes. So again, I would ask that if the amendment for postponing until the 28th is satisfactory to the motion maker, that she go ahead and make that amendment, and we will look at bringing this back to council on the 28th.
I will make that motion in a minute, if you don't mind. I did get some of this, well, the 5-minute thing from Robert's Rules of Order. I went and bought the book and has been going through it, so I do know about Robert's Rules of Order. Thank you very much. And it does allow for what I had put on here. And as far as these are changes, these additions, taking city council out and putting mayor in, so are you saying that we've had these policies and procedures for all these years and they've been incorrect and they've been against the Texas Government Code?
I didn't say that at all. And again, I'm not prepared to really sit down and go item to item. That's why I've requested or suggested that a postponement is in order, so that all of us can take a look at this.
I understand that. I just wanted to, I guess, defend what I was, you spend a lot of time defending all of your positions. I was gonna defend mine. Thank you very much. And I do move to postpone this to the next meeting.
Very good. So we have an amended motion to postpone this item until the next meeting on May 28th. Bert, it's your second. Do you second that amendment?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend this motion and provide a postponement to a time certain, that time being the next meeting, May 28th. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Motion carries, and we are postponing this item until our May 28th meeting. That takes us to discussion and action. This is actually going to be a presentation also of our capital improvement projects. And so we're going to have a presentation by Rick Schroeder, our city administrator, and I believe we have another presenter here that will take care of part of this presentation. The action that we're talking about on this item is not necessarily action to approve. We're just looking for some very strong direction on which way the council wants to proceed with these projects and the capital improvement debt instruments that we're going to propose as a means of completing these projects. And so Rick will cover all of that, and then we will proceed with direction from council.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to quickly go over, city staff submitted the agenda item request form to y'all on essentially looking at these capital improvement projects again and the amount of funding that we would need to take out for those projects, and the amount of debt service related to the amount of money that we would take out. And if you recall, in the past, staff came back with a recommendation based upon an initial amortization schedule from First Southwest to only go with a certificate of obligation issuance of $1.5 million and exclude the water and sewer line from the list of capital improvement projects for this certificate of obligation issuance. Tonight we're coming back to y'all again. We have received more concrete pricing or cost estimates for these capital improvement projects. And we've been able to work with First Southwest on unique ways to approach the financing or the funding of these projects. So as you can see here, and we've asked Susan to attend tonight in case there's any questions that she needs to answer on this. But essentially what we're looking at, and I'll keep this short, we're recommending approval now of the full slate of projects, the State Highway 16 Water and Sewer Project, the FM 1560 Realignment Project, the Helotes Creek Linear Park Transportation Enhancement Project, and the FM 1560 Helotes Creek Tributary A Bridge Crossing Project.
Keep that thought. I did mean to introduce Susan Wooten. She's our city treasurer and is very actively involved in this potential issuance of debt instruments, and helps us with all of our accounting processes and budgeting here in the city. So again, Susan Wooten. Go ahead, Rick.
Okay. What I included in our agenda item request form was the total projected cost as of last week, which was $4.6 million. Just today, as a matter of fact, we did receive what we are hoping is a final number from TxDOT on the contribution for the realignment project. Initially it was $700,000 and now it's $500,000. So the recommended issuance as of now, and we believe that this is relatively firm, is $4.4 million, which will cover all of those projects and have a little bit remaining for the Cedar Trail culvert design and grading work that will need to occur at the same time that TxDOT upsizes that existing culvert. I wanted to go over, so exactly why this change? Well, if you recall, the concern that we had before was that the INS rate, or the interest in seeking rate, was going to have to increase to such an extent that it would pull money away from the maintenance and operating budget and have to go into debt service, okay? What First Southwest has done is they have structured the principal and interest payment so that essentially the INS rate the interest and sinking rate stays at the same rate stays at the same rate over a longer term period, and actually never goes over the let me switch to that real quick. Never goes over the 7.8 plus or minus a few decimal point, 7.8% or percent that we currently are at for interest and seeking. And so in consultation with Susan and with the mayor, we feel comfortable now that essentially we can maintain the status quo and still go out for the debt issuance of $4.4 million. Now this has to be over a 20-year term. The only way that they can structure the interest and principal payments is by going over a longer period of time. These are still 5-year callable notes that would be issued, which is what we were talking about before when we were discussing the different debt instruments that would be available to the city. So that is our recommendation. I've included the suggested motion, assuming that council goes along with this after we go through the question and answer period. But essentially, we're recommending approval of the issuance of C of Os for $4.4 million for 20 years with structured principal and interest payments defraying the majority of principal payments until 2028, and assuming EDC responsibility for debt obligation payments for $493,454, which is the Helotes Creek Linear Park project, and EDC contributions to the city of Helotes of $150,000 per year for 3 years commencing in fiscal year 2016. Are there any questions for myself or Susan before we go, or we defer to Ann Berger-Entricken from First Southwest?
If you would, Rick, just remind council of the thought process in the payoff of the 2002 C of Os and the date that that's going to occur, and also the contribution that has been approved by EDC from their end, and how that's going to work, just to help in the discussion.
Sure. If you pull out the 20-year, which is this paperwork here, it's the one that has the blue at the top. It says bond issuance in fiscal year 2015, 20-year wrap debt service, 5-year call. Essentially what you can see here is that we have existing debt service that's related to 2002 and 2007 C of Os. The 2002 C of Os we will finalize our obligations or finalize our payments in 2017 on that debt issuance, which is not too far into the future. Now what the EDC has done over that 3-year period is to say, okay, we know, city, that you're concerned about making your debt obligation payments, and we know that you don't want to increase your tax rate. Number one, the overall tax rate. You don't want to increase your INS tax rate because that'll defray money from M&O. So we'll go ahead and pledge $150,000 per year for 3 years in order to defray that 2002 C of O issuance, which I support. I mean, I think that's a valid use of EDC money and a good contribution, good faith effort to this project. So that's number one.
Just for the benefit of those folks in the audience, would you please explain to them INS and M&O?
Sure. INS is interest in sinking fund, and M&O is maintenance and operations funds. Essentially, all debt service or all loans, if you will, that the city of Helotes takes out, we have to dedicate revenue to pay off those loans from ad valorem tax or property tax revenues that the city receives. So whatever debt service or loan payments that the city has to make has to go in that interest in sinking fund to pay those obligations for that year. Everything else goes into the maintenance and operation budget, which covers the annual fiscal year's budget expenditures.
Thanks.
So the first question you had was about the $150,000 for EDC. Can you remind me what the second question was related to that, please?
Actually, the first one was the payoff date of the 2002 C of Os, and the second was the EDC contribution.
Okay, so I've covered that.
I have a question. Sorry, didn't mean to.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Is all right? Mm-hmm. On the EDC contribution of $150,000 a year, will we be paying the EDC back?
No. The resolution stated that it was a blanket $150,000 contribution to the city's INS fund.
Okay, I thought we were paying them back, okay. Okay.
Alex, you have any questions?
Well, I did until I heard all of the initials, but I was able to follow along. I think it was very well done. My first question, and really my biggest question, was what's so different now than it was 6 months ago, where the staff and everybody said we can't afford it, now all of a sudden we can. And I think that the restructuring and the additional 150 makes it to where I think we can do so, because my primary concern, I mean, I recognize the benefit that this is going to have for those who currently own property in that area, not just those that have it developed, but those who want to have it developed. But my concern at that time, which I think has been alleviated, is that we would put ourselves in a fiscal situation to where we would have to raise taxes or cut back on some of the service. And I think you've addressed that well, and I'm very satisfied. Thank you.
If I may address one more thing there, Mayor, the other significant aspect or portion of that is that the water and sewer line was lowered in cost by $1 million as well. So
we're looking at a lower issuance.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question then, if I may, because I know that the cost of that is something that will be borne by those who end up tapping into that. I know there's a complicated formula on how that works and how it solves it, and so presumably that would be even easier for someone to tap in and to start utilizing those services, because I know they're voluntary, but those costs are then transferred to those who tap in, right?
there are impact fees that SAWS
Yes.
will collect for wastewater and sanitary and water, yes.
And those fees were based on the total cost.